I know, a second Ogre video in a row, but today we're getting back into the BBB tournament, which is still ongoing. Later rounds are being played out, and today we've got the start of a series between Strat Game and Jellyfish. So let's go ahead and just get straight into the builds here, starting with Strat Game's Ogres. He's got a front line of Noblar Trappers. This is game one, I should add. Just straight into the series right at the start. Slaughtermaster, tons of bulls with some dual weapons, regulars, mixed, Saber Tusk pack, of course, maxed at 4, and I've got 2 Crushers, great weapons, including the Sky Strider's Regiment of Renown. On Jellyfish's Dark Elf side, love the blue color scheme for them, by the way. Malekith, along with 2 Scourge Runner Chariots. We've got the Raven's Heralds, which, if they can stay protected, are great in this matchup because Ogres don't have any flying units. Something you have to worry about is getting shot out of the sky by, like, Trappers or something, which, considering Trappers low range, they can outrange them. Obviously, no Iron Blaster, Scrap Launcher, anything like that. Although I do like Scrap Launchers in this matchup, it should be said. Some Bolt Throwers are here to potentially counter them, though. We've got some Cold One Knights as well, and Dread Spears up front, so tons of anti-large. Obviously, armor-piercing shooting, as it is Dark Elves, but Scourge Runners especially are going to be super important, as will Malekith. Malekith just being an absolute powerhouse. So really the defining engagement is going to come down to the Sky Striders versus Malekith, in my opinion, right? Like, this is by far the most dangerous unit for Malekith, and so for Jellyfish's perspective, he needs to realize that, understanding his target priority is primarily right here. Slaughtermaster is kind of secondary. Even if you get rid of the Slaughtermaster, though, the Sky Striders can still potentially heal. The Ogres are able to chase some routing units and rack up that army ability. But anyway, let's go ahead and just watch what happens. The Scourge Runners are going to get close. I'm not sure exactly what their intention is. Malekith also runs a quick little charge here and is going to pop back up into the air. Sky Striders are not in a position to immediately punish him, but if he did stay in combat for too long, would definitely get punished pretty hard. Right now, the Bolt Thrower is just kind of chewing on Noblar Trappers or whatever else. Ogres are going to be forced to advance here, but Malekith getting very risky, and I'm not sure about deploying the Cold One Knights here. I don't know if there's not necessarily a reason for that, but Malekith gets hit by the Noblar Traps, and now the Cold One Knights are going to be forced to charge in here, if just to screen for Malekith. The Sky Striders aren't able to get any hits on him, get that Frostbite contact effect. It looks like maybe his speed was significantly debuffed, so maybe it did hit him momentarily. He is ultimately able to sneak through his own units, though, and the Ogres are left to just devour the Cold One Knights, which they will do, although the Cold One Knights are also kind of holding here. They're not doing a lot of damage themselves, but they're allowing some of these range units to pour in some fire, resulting in some pretty good damage on this little blob of Ogres here. But let's see how the rest of the advance gets on. The Cold One Knights are kind of staying in a position to try and help mass block so the Dread Spears potentially don't get completely flattened, but the bypass here, Saber Tusk's trying to get around the defenses. They do land home on one of the artillery crews, but the Cold One Knights are right there to respond, so should be pretty interesting. These Crushers also could potentially counter-respond here, and it looks like they will do so and try and collapse those Cold One Knights as the other ones pull away. Nice micro there to not let that unit take unnecessary damage. Speaking of unnecessary damage, though, the Sky Striders are going to start to take focus from the Raven's Heralds. A super efficient use of this Flying Skirmish Cav Regiment of Renown. Fairly unique. There are some other Flying Skirmish Cav, obviously, but yeah, the Ogres are now going to get into combat and obviously just mulch through this Dark Elf front line, especially with the Noblar Trappers supporting, but Trappers are making a little bit of a misplay here. They should be focusing all their throwing daggers at screening the Raven's Heralds away from the Sky Striders. You know, just in order to, like here, these 2 units is perfect. Just getting some nice volleys in. Trappers, though, because they're like weird missile speed, the fact they're throwing daggers, that they have a fairly slow missile speed, a little bit of an awkward arc, not the greatest accuracy, but they're going to get plenty of effective damage here and force the Raven's Heralds away. Though Dark Elves still have plenty of missiles to work with. We can see the Scourge Runner Chariots responding, trying to skirmish as best they can. Gold One Knights also in Malekith did deal with this one Crusher non-regimented out on the flank very efficiently. Great use of mobility by the Dark Elves to respond and keep things moving. Keep these Scourge Runner chariots protected so that as that line collapses, they can fall back and kind of kite a little bit here. Continue shooting, kind of charge in these other Dread Spears. Let's see. No, Ogres definitely are pushing right now pretty heavily positionally. Malekith obviously still with plenty of HP. Nice breath attack going to be landing as well. That doesn't do a crazy amount of damage, but it does confer that noxious gas, which is 30% melee attack. It's one of the few percentage-based melee attack debuffs in the game. A pretty rare thing to actually catch on your UI, because it is only from the Black Dragon Breath specifically. It's a pretty unique effect, but it does impact them, at least momentarily. Bulls, though, are going to continue to mop up these fabulous blue Dark Elves. Love that color scheme again. But does it make the chariots go faster? Hard to say. These Raven's Heralds still have quite a bit of ammunition left, and yeah, they have almost all their unit models still online, so Trappers now kind of being inundated by some Dark Elves chaff, and obviously Malekith also coming in to terrorize and punish them heavily. Sky Striders are going to try and get back on station to help protect, but a little bit of Soul Stealer there. Doesn't hit the Sky Striders, interesting. Just hits this big old blob of Trappers and Bulls and whatnot. Definitely makes sense, but see now the Saber Tusks, I think, kind of, yeah, I was going to say over-blobbing with the one, and almost as if Strat Game can hear me coaching him, he's going to right turn with this unit straight into these weakened Red Spears and try and finish them off. Unfortunately, Murderous Prowess is active. That's going to give us significant leadership buff. All these Dark Elf units. Yeah, plus 15 leadership is pretty hefty. Not to mention the extra melee attack and whatnot. So it's a tough to try and break Dark Elves during that damage spike, but at least the one Dread Spear was broken. Sky Striders are going to eat some more healing here. They've still got a decent amount of their unit models online, and most of the ammunition is gone. It looks like the Scourge Runners are pretty much running out right now, and the Raven's Heralds still have quite a bit, so potentially problematic there, especially as Malekith has taken relatively little damage up until this point. Now is starting to take some consistent damage from the Sky Striders, but immediately going to respond with a nice Soul Stealer here. Raven's Heralds completely unmolested up in the sky. Undisturbed, as the Scourge Runners are deployed as effective chariots, enough at least to disrupt the Trappers, break their leadership, not allow them to continue firing. Looks like some of the Trappers are trying to focus on Malekith. This other one, again, turns to fire on the Raven's Heralds, who are just doing Kane's work here in terms of getting rid of these high-value units. Looks like the Sky Striders have been heal-capped and routed, so pretty much game over for the Ogres from that point on. They have no hope of killing Malekith. But we'll just soak up some of the cinematics as the Slaughtermaster gets pin-cushioned. I wonder if the Dark Elves, you know, take bets to see if they can get the crossbow bolts in between his folds of fat. I know I would. Just kidding, guys. Sky Striders are going to come back momentarily, and even weakened as they are, they can still get some damage on Malekith. He's in a relatively small amount of danger, but still, stand your ground is popped. A few volleys in from the Raven's Heralds to really finish things off. And yeah, we've got Saber Tusk Pack moving in. Bulls doing a good job routing stuff. A little bit over chasing on this one on the far side, but it's just Malekith still has enough HP to carry this pretty heavily. Even one more Soul Stealer just to top it off. So unfortunately, the Ogres just kind of run out of steam here, and I really like the use of the Raven's Heralds. Definitely looking forward to the rest of this particular series. Ogre's not going quietly into that good night, but eventually they will go. So we'll fast forward through this endgame cleanup phase. Malekith gets the last of the terror routes, finishes off the Slaughtermaster, and that's game. The Strat Game loses the first one, but we'll see how he fares through the rest of the series. Jellyfish manages to take a win there. Nice value on Malekith. Really excellent priority of micro on Malekith, because, I mean, obviously It seems obvious to say, but in practice in battle, oftentimes you don't end up prioritizing the micro of your most expensive units, which is a mistake for sure, especially in a build where you're kind of focused very much around that. And then your other key units here, obviously the Scourge Runners getting very good value, Raven's Herald's kind of in that skirmish phase as well. Very nice to see. One of the Cold One Knights performs quite admirably also, and then Dread Spears are going to be fairly cost effective here for the most part. A few of them kind of get run over hard. So speaking of get running over hard, English. These Crushers got crushed, unfortunately. The Sky Striders did much better, but still didn't quite pay for themselves. The kind of mid to low tier units of the Ogres tend to be very cost effective. We see all the Bulls pretty much, and the Saber Tusks paying for themselves. It's just the key kind of high value units here. Definitely losing that Crusher out on the one flank was pretty painful. They were obviously able to help devour some Cold One Knights, but ultimately getting taken out by Malekith. It's a very painful way to go, no doubt. So hopefully you guys enjoyed watching this one. Stay tuned for the rest of the series. Be sure to subscribe so you don't miss it. Like this video, share it with a friend. Thanks again. We'll see you next time.